It's a Friday night in Flint, and it's a great one for FIrebirds hockey. For the final time this season, an Eastern Conference opponent is in town as the Birds play host to the Brantford Bulldogs, the owner of the East Best record. It's a banged-up bunch for Flint, but they're playing well as they have all season, and there's a ton to get to. For the FIrebirds and the Bulldogs, Flint FIrebirds hockey is on the air, and it starts right now. And good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome inside the broadcast booth for tonight's pregame show, driven by Shea Automotive. Here to tell you the story, I'm Brian Gardner. Well, we got the FIrebirds and the Brantford Bulldogs today. The Birds come in as a banged-up bunch. A little bit more on that later for Flint, who had its 5-game winning streak snapped on Wednesday at the hands of their rival, the Saginaw Spirit. On the other side of things, the Brantford Bulldogs, a team that sits in first place as the top seed in the Eastern Conference here late in the regular season, but also a team that comes in a little bit banged up, and a team that comes off of a loss 5-0 on home ice on Wednesday at the hands of the London Knights, the OHL's best record holders. So the FIrebirds will be seeing a Brantford team that, they're looking for the season series sweep against Flint. They won the first game these two teams played back in January in Brantford by a final of 5-2. It's also a Brantford bunch that will be looking for a bounce back after they were blanked by the London Knights in a game that some were touting as a potential OHL finals matchup with the top seeds in each respective conference. On the Flint side of things, they're playing about as well as they have all season right now, even despite some key absences. We'll see what the FIrebirds have for us here this evening as they're on home ice for the second of 3 games in this building here this week. Let's dive in for the FIrebirds and the Bulldogs and get a look at what happened last time each of these two teams were on the ice. We begin on Wednesday in this building with the Birds and the Saginaw Spirit. First period, Igor Chernyshov to Michael Misa. Nathan Day got clipped there. They call it no goaltender interference after the challenge, and it's 1-0 Saginaw. Quickly thereafter, Zane Perek the shot on the rebound. It's Carson Harmer all alone. Birds lost sight of him, and it's 2-0 Saginaw. Chris Thibodeau going to change that. Watch Hayden Reed join the fun. One-time bang, top shelf, and he scores. It is Chris Thibodeau with the beauty, and he lets loose a primal scream as the FIrebirds are on the board to make it 2-1. Second period now, Chernyshov going to the net. Chernyshov roofs it. He is impressive. First time we got our eyes on him this season, and Igor Chernyshov is good at advertised. So is Chris Thibodeau, though. Here he is to bring the FIrebirds back within 1. His second goal of the game. Thibodeau was flying in that loss on Wednesday as the FIrebirds back within 1 at that point, but then Chernyshov from Misa. Back towards Chernyshov, hits Day's pad, and there's Zane Perek to clean it up as Saginaw's lead back to 2. Chernyshov and Misa, too tough to handle for the FIrebirds as the score is 4-2. Third period, FIrebirds trying to bring themselves back within 1. Alex Kostov, no. Matthew Mania, yes. Mania follows it up after Kostov drives the net. 1 of 2 assists on the night for Kostov. There's Mania, rip it top shelf. He had a goal and an assist. He's matched his career high with 38 points, but Igor Chernyshov caps off a 4-point night for the empty netter. Saginaw wins it by a final score of 5-3. Over to Brantford, where the London Knights were in town, and London was good in this game. First period, here's Easton Cowan. Short side, beats him on the far side as Cowan cashes in, and it's a 1-0 lead for the Knights. We're off to the second period now, and in that second period, stretched it out to Landon Sim. He's in alone, a bullet top shelf. He scores. Sim was coming in hot there, and it's 2-0 London. They continue in the second period. Here are the Knights. Watch this backhander from Sam Dickinson. Ooh, the Sharks prospect just showing it off as he holds it on the backhand. Little flick of the wrist. That was shot out of a cannon, and it's 3-0 Knights. Knights trying to make it 4-0. Jesse Nurmi going to the net. The Islanders prospect holding off the defense, as that's a short-handed breakaway goal for Nurmi, and the score's 4-0. We're off to the third. Again, short-handed for the Knights. Easton Cowan pokes it free, gets it back on the feed from Jacob Julian. Cowan sends it home. 5-0 London on Cowan's second goal of the game, and that's where it would finish as Brantford is shut out by the Knights on home ice on Wednesday. Our team comparison, this is a solid Brantford team. They have the best power play in the OHL at nearly 30%. Penalty kills good too. They're almost plus 40 on the goal differential. It's a team that, they do a good job keeping the puck out of their net, and they put it in the opposition's net. FIrebirds at -8 goal differential. They've kind of hovered around the same position in terms of average goals for and goals against for the last little bit here. Playing tight as the penalty kills on a heater. Power play's been struggling for the Firebirds, sitting at 13.3%, and they've been cold as of late. Off to the standings will begin in the Western Conference as the Firebirds, they're kind of on an island in 6th right now, 7 points clear of Sarnia and 5 points back of Erie. So scoreboard watching a little bit later on. If you want the Birds to finish as high as possible and have that matchup with the Saginaw Spirit, Flint will need a little bit of help on the out-of-town scoreboard and some Erie losses as they try to narrow that gap with only 8 games remaining. Erie has 9. Sarnia, the team they're trying to hold off, as well as the Sioux and the Owen Sound attack. So we're getting close to magic number season as the Firebirds are getting closer and closer to clinching their spot in the playoffs. If it ended today, it would be Kitchener and Flint in the 3-6 matchup in the first round. Out east, we told you about the Bulldogs. This is a team that sits in first place, 3 points clear of the Barrie Colts. Barrie does have a game in hand. They're only 1 point clear of the Oshawa Generals. They played the same amount of teams, those teams in the same division, so that's why Oshawa's in third, despite the fact they have more points than Barrie. But Brantford right now sitting on top of the East, and you know they want to stay there, as the Bulldogs will be in Saginaw tomorrow as they have this Michigan road trip. They're trying to get back in the win column after that shutout loss against the London Knights and cement their spot in the first position in the Eastern Conference. So the Firebirds and the Brantford Bulldogs today for the second of the 2 meetings between these 2 teams. Only time we'll see Brantford in these parts here this season. It's the final Eastern Conference opponent of the year for Flint, who's got only Western Conference foes the rest of the way after tonight. As we roll along on the pregame show driven by Shea Automotive, we'll get a look at the lineups for today's game, tell you about some key absences for the Firebirds, our players to watch for both sides. All that and more when we come back after this. Birds, Bulldogs coming up as this is the pregame show driven by Shea Automotive, and this is the Firebirds Hockey Network.
At the Shea Megalot, they pride themselves on always aiming higher and finding new and better ways to keep you informed on your next new-to-you vehicle. Go to SheaMegalot.com, look for the used vehicle tab, choose your vehicle, then look for the button that says Vehicle Records, where you can find the original MSRP, view the service, maintenance, and Carfax history, just like looking under the hood. Plus, take a video test drive. I'm Mackenzie Miller, and with over 500 pre-owned and certified vehicles to choose from, the Shea Megalot is where it's at. Just saying.
We got the Birds and the Dogs. Brantford visiting Flint. The Firebirds trying to get back in the win column after they had their 5-game winning streak snapped at the hands of the Saginaw Spirit on Wednesday. Brantford looking for a bounce-back performance after a shutout loss at home against the London Knights on Wednesday. Take a look at the lineup for these 2 teams as we'll begin with the Brantford Bulldogs. It's a shorthanded bunch. Was chatting with Reed Duthie, the voice of the Brantford Bulldogs, prior to going on air here, and he points out that, hey, yeah, only 9 natural forwards, and there's only 11 forwards dressed, as they have 2 defensemen playing forward to the Bulldogs. They haven't had a full, healthy lineup all season long, but Brantford, though, it hasn't been a big problem as they'll turn back to Ryerson Leanders in net. That top line especially is lethal for the Bulldogs, who really have talent up and down the lineup. We'll get a look at our players to watch for today's game, and we will begin with Patrick Thomas. It's easy to forget about Thomas when Nick Lardis and his 66 goals are on the team, but the Washington Capitals prospect nearing a milestone. He sits at 98 points on the season, including 72 assists, which leads the Ontario Hockey League. Thomas had 2 assists the first time these 2 teams met up back in January in Brantford. He was on a 10-game point streak before the Dogs were shut out by London on Wednesday, but Patrick Thomas, those 26 goals and 72 helpers, as he has great chemistry on that top line with the likes of Nick Lardis. We'll go off to the blue line and Tomasz Hamara. Hamara is an overager. He's a Senators prospect, as he's been steady all year. Top 10 in points among a defenseman in the OHL, and 8th with those 52. He's a point-per-game guy, 52 points in 52 games this season for Tomasz Hamara, as he was on an 8-game point streak before that shutout loss against London on Wednesday. Puck mover back there. He is great on their power play. Birds will be wary of him all night long. And we've already said his name, Nick Lardis. Of course, we'll turn to the OHL's leading goal scorer. 66 goals on the season. He's only 4 goals away from becoming the 8th OHL player in league history to pot 70. Lardis only played in 37 games last year. He had 29 goals during it. Of course, that's an impressive clip, but he's exploded this year. You got to think the Chicago Blackhawks have to figure they got a steal in the 3rd round of the 2023 NHL draft. Leads the OHL with those 66 goals. He's 2nd in points with 108. he did score 1 goal against the Birds back on January 8th in Brantford. Let's get a look at the Firebirds lineup, and boy, does it look a little bit different. Some notable absences as Nate Aspinall is out today, ill, out with an upper body injury. Caden Petrie, who exited the game early on Wednesday. Still no Sam McHugh, still no Evan Conyon. Connor Clattenburg's back in, not expecting to see Nolan Collins back this season. Firebirds, you see Josh Colosimo on that top line left wing. Ryland Cunningham is in, as is Brendan Cook on the fourth line. We'll get a look at our players to watch for the Firebirds, and well, Chris Thibodeau, he busted out of a bit of a slump with 2 goals scored on Wednesday against Saginaw. It was his 5th 2-goal game of the season. He's up to 17 goals now, 3rd on the team in both goals and points with 17 and 43 respectively. Now the speedy winger has goals in bunches this season. 10 of his 17 goals in those 5 multi-goal games. He's on the top line right wing today. And that performance is going to be key to making sure the offense gets in gear in the absence of all of those forwards for Flint today. Speaking of forwards, who the Firebirds would love to get some strong performances from today, how about Alex Kostov? Last 6, he's got 2 goals and 5 assists. Kostov continuing his breakout season. 2 points on Wednesday night. He's at 42 now on the year. So Kostov entering this season, he only had 39 points in 118 career games. He has more than double his career OHL point total this season. And we'll go to the blue line and Urban Padrekar for our final player to watch. Last 6 games, he's scoring at nearly a point per game. Now, in the continued absence of Nolan Collins, Padrekar has stepped up and been kind of the unsung hero for the Firebirds defenseman. He'll be paired again with Rylan Fellinger tonight. That pair has really grown into a nice combo, with Fellinger serving as more as a stay-at-home type. And that, of course, means Padrekar has driven more offense. 23 points, 8 goals and 15 assists for Urban Padrekar. He is second among Flint defensemen in goals this season. And Urban Padrekar, we'll see what he's got in store against the Brantford Bulldogs tonight. You see that hand-eye coordination from the Slovenian-born blue liner. All the Firebirds and the Brantford Bulldogs set to do battle here this evening on a Friday night in mid-Michigan. Firebirds expecting a nice rowdy crowd here this evening as we come down the stretch in the OHL's regular season. Flint and Brantford, they've played only once. This is the second of the 2-game season series. Firebirds looking for the split, trying to get back to the winning ways after they had their 5-game point winning streak snapped on Wednesday. Well, this has been the pregame show driven by Shea Automotive. We're going to step aside. When we come back, we'll get starting lineup introductions. We'll also have the national anthems, and then it's time to drop the puck. Birds and the Dogs. This has been the pregame show driven by Shea Automotive. We're back, leading you into puck drop coming up after this on FHN.
There's not always a light on your dash when it comes to your brakes. Whoa! You ever hear that noise? Let me show you what could be going on. Wow, looks like it's time to replace those brake pads. Before this happens to you, come on in for your free brake inspection. If you need brakes, we'll even give you 10% off any brake repairs here at Shea. I'm Jesse Lopez, and that's my tip for the month. Come trust our process. Come trust the Shea service team.